Bickley and Marotta Mornings. Arizona Sports. The local sports leader. Bickley Blast.
I don't know about you, but I passed through an important stage of grief last night. My anger over the Suns turned to sadness. The post-game press conference with Devin Booker was the lowest I felt in a while, and it was the worst I have felt for Book since he had to share a court with Josh Jackson and Marquise Chris. Book ripped the current team's attention to detail, which tells you everything you need to know about this group's competitive fire and emotional investment, and then he said a line in the sand should have been drawn a long time ago. That was a shot at Mike Budenholzer, who might have been fired last night and just doesn't know it yet. Because what's missing besides an alpha leader on the court and heart in the locker room and defense and a whole host of other issues is an alpha coach. Somebody who has the tools and the brass to truly hold his players accountable. We were told Budenholzer was better than Frank Vogel in this area, but clearly this coach isn't getting through either. Again. At any rate, I found myself wanting to give Book a hug last night, although I probably would have been arrested, and I hope last night didn't foreshadow the end of him as well. All right, today's Bickley Blast brought to you by my great friends at Chapman BMW, who make luxury attainable. Find them online at chapmanbmw.com.
Yeah, I say, just, skipping over the details and, always taking the, get them next game mentality. At some point, you got to draw a line, and should have been drawn a long time ago.
Yep, that was the reality. That was the tone of the post-game press conference after a disappointing loss to the New Orleans Pelicans, 124-116. The New Orleans Pelicans, now 2 of their 16 wins. That's 14.3% of their wins have come against the Phoenix Suns this year, and they have a chance to finish up a sweep. I was trying to do the math, too, or the research bit, specific to that game, and I don't want to get into, I know you don't want to get into the minutia of the game either. It's more big picture stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But has a team in the NBA ever made 20 or more three-pointers in back-to-back games and lost them both?
Wow, that's a good stat search.
The Suns, in their history, I was able to find this out. They had only lost one game, I think, of the 15 times that they had hit 20 or more three-pointers going into this year. And now they've done it in back-to-back games.
Devin Booker, hearing him talk last night, the reason why it was so sad for me is because we've been on this journey with him for a long time. We've been through the early years when he used to get no respect nationally.
I tell you.
Yeah, because of the people around him, because of the team he played for and the organization he played for. And it all changed when Chris Paul came to town and Monty Williams came to town, and then when Matt Ishbia came to town with his ability and his willingness to spend tons of money. I really thought this was going to end well for him. And last night I felt kind of connected with him again because I could hear the struggle. I could hear the frustration in what he was talking about. And I think he really said a lot of profound things. The idea that the line in the sand should have been drawn a long time ago. That is so damning to everybody. The attention to detail, the idea that we get quiet as a team when things are going poorly. There was a lot that Devin Booker said last night. And there are a lot of ways you can look at it. There's a lot of ways you can perceive it. But the bottom line is you wonder about his frustration level. You wonder if, after this season is over, he is willing to go through a struggle. He is willing to kind of, okay, let's press reset. I'm cool. I'm here. I'm going to fight this through with you all. That is the preferred avenue for most everybody in Phoenix. Although if you look at it from a cold reality, it may not be the smartest thing. And that's something that I am struggling with. It's something I heard Burnsy struggling with it yesterday when they were having these very hard conversations on Burns and Gambo. It's something everybody would struggle with. The turning off the emotion, the turning off the heartstrings, and looking at this from a real harsh, cold reality kind of standpoint.
Yeah, it was interesting, and I'm wondering too. But let's face facts. For the last 2 years, especially, and I mentioned this earlier in the show, the national pundits and a lot of local people too are wondering, okay, who's the leader of this team? And Charles Barkley says it's got to be Devin Booker. And there was criticisms about Kevin Durant's ability to lead a team. And I'm not saying those criticisms aren't warranted for Devin Booker. I wonder if last night was, or this process and what was said last night was kind of the culmination of an epiphany. Like, okay, I got to be that guy. Finally at this point. And you have to consider, this has gone so horribly south, you have to consider all options. Again, sorry if that makes your butt hurt. You have to do what's best for the basketball team in the long term. That might be keeping Devin Booker. It might be looking at opportunities to move Devin Booker. And when I've brought that up, I've received some criticism on social media from people that said, no, you can't ever trade Booker. He's stuck with you through thick and thin. I mean, yes, but was Devin Booker in the first 5 years of his career, was he in a position to say, I'm better than this? Get me out of here? No, he wasn't.
No.
He was a very good player on bad basketball teams. And I don't know if he's got it in him to want out, quite honestly. But I wonder what this process has done to him individually and his maturation and growth as a leader of, the alpha of a basketball team.
Well,
and does that change how he operates in that role?
Okay, great question, because near the last question asked by our buddy Nick King to Devin Booker last night was about that, and he said, I always look to myself first. But at the same time, I also do a lot of talking out there. So what Book is saying is they're not listening to me either.
Yeah, there's that.
So again, frustration was just oozing out of him. And you're right. Listen, the idea of somebody being untouchable, Gambo said it best yesterday. This basketball team cost $400 million and they're 5 games under 500. Nobody is untouchable. When you have to make hard decisions about how do we get back into the game, the big game, the title hunting game, how are you going to do it? I wanted to be with Devin Booker. I'm vibing right now on what you just said. Maybe there was a realization last night that, okay, you know what? I have got to take this thing over. Again, we're looking for glimmers of hope like we always do with this team. But this is going to be, like I said, this is happening with a lot of games left in the season.
So bizarre. They have 2 of the top 8 scorers in the NBA this season.
Yeah.
Have you checked the defensive rating numbers, Jared?
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
116 defensive rating, only better than 2 teams.
It's unbelievable that essentially the thought was when they put this together that having 2 of the top 8 scorers in the league would be enough to win.
It's not.
That was essentially the thinking.
The modern NBA doesn't work like that, though, and Bickley's talked about it before. It's like you need a collection of talent, and this collection on Phoenix does not have the talent to compete with the rest of the league.
Okay, you just made a very good point, Sammy, because there's this prevailing belief everybody falls back on. A team with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant should never be this bad. That's the myth.
But on the flip side of it, can I add one and let you continue?
Okay, go ahead.
You go ahead. You go ahead first.
I was going to say that's a myth because today's NBA now, the quality of depth, the kind of players that are coming off benches, the kind of depth teams have, it's an obsolete approach.
Yeah, but then ask yourself the question when it comes to the Suns roster, and now it's hindsight, yes, because we were excited about the construction of this roster. I certainly was. Are you comfortable identifying more than 3 current members of the Phoenix Suns roster? And those players are Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal. Outside of those 3, are you confident in identifying any of those players as somebody who would start for 20 other NBA teams?
No. I'm not.
No, I'm not either.
That's a tough question. 20 is a lot, but the upper 15 of the league, definitely not.
Nick Richards wasn't a starter on one of the worst teams in the league.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just one more quick thing. Watching the game last night, it made me sort of realize that almost every team in the NBA has 2 really good players.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Like Beal and Booker, they are better, but are they that much better than like Zion and CJ McCollum are? I mean, they are better, but it's like it's not enough difference that is going to carry a team like very far.
Right. Vince, the 23-pointers, teams that have lost. So we're 3-2 this season when shooting and making 23-pointers. Mm-hmm. Teams that have lost 2 or more games in that are the Nets, the Bulls, the Wizards, the Sixers, and then the Celtics and Warriors just because they have more games of that than anyone else. So we're in the company of the Sixers, the Bulls, and the Wizards in that regard.
Listen, here's the other thing that I want to say as somebody who is treating the situation and this season as with as much critical analysis as I can muster, because my loyalty is to the story, it is not to the team. But we were all wrong about some of these moves. We were all happy when they traded Chris Paul for Bradley Beal. We were wrong, just like they were wrong. You and I, we did cartwheels when they traded for Brandon Knight. We were wrong. We're wrong very frequently because in our need and our desire for this team to succeed, we want to see the best case outcome.
We all thought it was the right move to trade Ayton at that time, and
yes,
and after last year, we liked the package they got.
We are terrible GMs.
Yes.
It's harder than it looks, I guess.
What you're talking about? My couch GM isn't working?
Thanks for watching Bickley and Marotta. Click to see the latest Bickley Blast and hit the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.